So today we're supposed to do Kuf Lamed Hey, which is the beginning of the new parak, Gracious Agez. We have to finish Zerah Balachayim. So we're starting on Kuf Lamed Daled, Amud Aleph, on the bottom Amalei Abaya. What happened was, he said that if there's ever a doubt if the person is obligated to give the matanas, for example, a convert that converted while his animal is being slaughtered back at home. So, good morning. So, we don't know if it was slaughtered before the mikveh, and he wasn't Jewish, or it was slaughtered after. The Mishnah says he doesn't have to give it. He doesn't have to give the matanas. Could be he wasn't Jewish. And is there another pair of glasses? You forgot your glasses? Yeah. Maybe in the shul they have this. They have that.
It's chazaka, Rabbi? It's a chazaka, but he's not Jewish.
Oh, so that's what we mentioned. So before you jump to that, so we said that it's a suffix in Hamaitzi Mechaver Levaraya, that if the kohen wants his gifts, prove it that the guy was Jewish at the time, that the ger was Jewish at the time. Then we asked the question that if there's a doubt when it comes to the gifts to the poor, that you do give it when there's a doubt. Safek leket leket, safek shikha shikha. You do have to give it. Why over here don't you have to give it? So Rabbi Yochanan tells Rish Lakish about this question. He says, "Oh, that Mishnah is just a das yachid. No one holds of it. Don't worry about that." So Rish Lakish says, "What do you mean? It's a das yachid. There's only one opinion. It makes sense, and that's a big problem." So Rabbi gives an answer. Rabbi says, by the cow, by the ger, it's the cheskas, here, this. By the cow, he wasn't Jewish before. He wasn't Jewish before. And it has a chazaka that there's no chiyuv there. However, by the gifts, the person was Jewish before, and the person does have to give the gifts. So therefore, by the gifts to the poor, there's no chazaka against it. So he has to give it. By the convert, the case by the poor was grain that fell on the floor. We don't know if it fell from the harvesting or if it was there beforehand. There's another Gemara. Yeah, there's a Gemara right here. See the right on the bottom. Yeah. And then the next person has to be a Gemara over there. And the other two Amalei Abaya. Abaya says to Rava. Yesterday we mentioned when we were doing Rava, learning Rava, we said. Thank you.
Oh, it began big.
Yeah.
Looking for a good one.
So, the chazaka aspect is a little confusing. It's not a regular chazaka over here because the person on the grain, is there a chazaka that it was supposed to be, that this grain was always, has a chazaka that there's a chiyuv that it needs to go to the poor person? We never had that chazaka. We have no chazaka. We don't know about it. I know the guy is Jewish, but the grain doesn't have a chazaka. Okay, we can leave that. But Amalei Abaya has an interesting question to him. Isa, it's the second wide line. It's 4 lines from the bottom. Let's say there's a dough, and it's nasa sachlei niskaya. And when you're chayav in challah is when you mix the water with the flour, when it turns into the dough. So, again, we have someone that's converting. He's probably, this is the case, he's probably at the mikveh with the bezdin, and he's going to go under the water. Meanwhile, back at home, they're making a feast for him. So they're preparing the dough. They're going to make a kiddush. So they're preparing the dough. And we don't know if the dough was mixed with, the flour was mixed with water before he was immersed or after he immersed. It makes a big difference. If it's before he immersed, then he's not chayiv in challah because he wasn't Jewish. And if it's after he immersed, then he is chayiv in challah. So it's Nasas Achlei Niskaya is Patim Menachem. Misha Niskaya after he converts is Chayiv. What about Suffolk? Let's see if we don't know exactly. So it says it's Chayiv. You follow what's going on? It contradicts the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that if you shecht an animal, for this convert, and you don't know if it was before the conversion or after the conversion, he does not have to give the gifts to the kohen. Because we don't know. Let the kohen prove that it was afterwards, and that he was Jewish, and he's obligated to give it. If he can't prove it, which he can't probably, so then he's exempt. The kohen wants it, prove it. Which means he's exempt. By the challah, Abai has a great question. By the challah, we say he's chayiv to give the challah when there's a doubt.
So what's the difference between challah and...
What's the difference between challah and the gifts?
Because
so by the challah, you should say that by the challah as well. The kohen, you want it, prove it that the guy was Jewish when the dough was mixed with the water.
The kohen would have to.
The kohen would have to prove it, and we don't say that. We say that the ger has to give it, even though it could be that he wasn't Jewish at the time.
Is there a difference between... So what's the
That's exactly. We did say the ger didn't have to give it by the gifts to the kohen on the animal,
What's the difference
but it contradicts it by the dough. That's
But the dough is
there's
a different
stringency by
issue.
but there's a stringency by
so
the
what's the difference?
It's
So Amalei, so Rava is very good. Dr. Stein and Rava.
Wow.
No, you say Baruch Shekivanti. You say blessed is Hashem. He gave you the same thoughts. Amalei. So he says to his Rava says back to Abaya, Safik Yisur Lachom or Safik Meina L'Kol. There's a big difference. The gifts to the kohen that come from the animal is a monetary gift. The challah is the iser. Now the difference is that challah, no one is allowed to eat other than a kohen that's pure and all of that. The gifts to the kohen is a monetary gift. He's allowed to do with it. He can feed it to anyone he wants. He can sell it. So when it comes to money, we say Amayt Mechavel Avaraya. When it comes to iser, you have to satisfy the obligation. It's a good answer. Damar Rav Chisda, as Rav Chisda says, there's a sefer. It was Mishmeres Chaim. I liked it as a kid. I would look at it. What he would do is he would take two Gemaras, two Mishnayos like this, and he would put them against each other and say, I don't understand. How come over here you're Chaim and over here it seems to be the same? And then you would have the Bachrim try to figure out the answer on their own. And then he would tell them what the answer is. This is like a classic. Okay, Rav Chisda taught this. V'chein tanu Rab Chia. Rab Chia taught this. Rab Chia is the collector of the Baises. It says, Shmeina Sveikas Nemra Beger, Arba L'Chia v'Arba L'Ptur. We have 8 possible doubts that are said by regarding a convert. And 4 of them, he's obligated. And 4 of them, he's exempt. And it goes like this. Karban Eshtei. Now this one I cannot figure out how this happened. At least the way Rashi is explaining it. If his wife gives birth, the ger's wife gives birth to a child, she has to bring a karban. If there's a doubt if she gave birth before the conversion or after the conversion, so we're going to say that she has to give the karban. Why? Because she's not allowed to eat from a sacrifice until she brings this karban. Because after she gives birth, first she has to wait a certain amount of days, and then she brings the sacrifice. She goes to the mikveh and she brings the sacrifice. So she has to bring the sacrifice to satisfy that concern that maybe she was Jewish at the time of the birth. She has to bring the sacrifice. The only thing that I just can't figure out how should there be a doubt? She goes to the mikveh. What did she give birth? Like halfway in the water, halfway out of the water? Oh, it was a water birth.
Water birth. That's the situation.
Okay.
Some people choose that. So she went in there, and while she was on the water, she gave birth to baby. Came out. They were both kosher. Two for the price of
So
one.
you could give birth
Two
on
for
the
price
highway,
of
you can
one.
give birth in a mikvah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, for the same price, we have the question if someone was born like punct on that day or the next day.
Yeah, but that I can understand because that, just the water aspect, it was like confusing me. Was she, Was she under the water or not?
Water.
The question is, the head comes out. What's the birth? The head is coming out. So you don't know when it came out exactly. When her head was under the water. Okay. The challah. Also, challah. This is an easy one. The challah is back at home. Someone is taking care of preparing the dough, and he's in the mikveh. It's his dough. So that's it. If we don't know if it was before he went to the mikveh or after, so he has to give it anyway. B'char behema tmeya. If his animal gave birth, the donkey gave birth, and it's a firstborn animal, so he has to redeem that. That he has to he has to exchange it for a sheep. We're going to see that not necessarily does he have to give the sheep to the Kohen, but he has to exchange it, because that becomes asur ba'ana if he doesn't exchange it. B'char behema tayra. And the same is if his animal gave birth and it's a kosher animal, so he has to give that kosher animal as a sacrifice. So these are four things that if it's a doubt if it was before the conversion or after the conversion, he has to make sure that he covers his bases. He has to separate it or give it to the Kohen and bring it as a sacrifice. What are the other four? All of those are l'chiyuv. The four that he's exempt, reishis hagez. Look at this. This could be a trivia question. 2 pages of Gemara that they start on the same word.
Oh wow.
Reishis hagez. The first sharings of wool. You don't see that over here because it's the Hebrew. The
No,
printed.
the Hebrew on one side.
Oh, no, but on the next page, you see.
Yeah. Well, she said good.
Yeah, but here, Reishis hagez and Reishis hagez.
Oh, I don't see two at the same time. That's only in this view.
So, the first sharings of wool, matanes, we know what matanes are, right? Matanes are the gifts that come from the animal. The zroya al-chiyayim and the keva, the foreleg, the jaw, and the stomach. Pidyon aben, the money that goes to the kohen. How did that happen? Yes, his wife has a baby at the time that he's converting. Now, how does that work? His wife. How does that work? Do you do a pidyon aben if the father wasn't Jewish, if the conception wasn't Jewish? I guess so. And the question is, his wife must have been Jewish already. Oh no. Here's the story. She's going to the mikveh and she's pregnant. And it's the same story. She's giving birth in the water. Was the baby born before or after? That's the same story. That's what it said. Does it talk about the water birth?
No.
Upidyon peteh chamar. And pidyon peteh chamar. Here it's the same case that we said before, because now we're talking about giving that lamb to the kohen. He had to redeem the donkey, because that was a firstborn donkey. You have to redeem it. You exchange it with a lamb. And what do you do with the lamb? Because he's not sure if he has to give it to the kohen, so he actually can keep it. And if the kohen can prove that this donkey gave birth before, after the conversion, then the kohen can take it, but he can never prove that, so the guy keeps the lamb. So all the monetary, that's what we're saying here. All the monetary things, the person keeps. And it's a proof to Rabbis that if it's a monetary issue and it's a doubt, you don't give it. If it's an isser, then you have to give it. Kiyasa Ravin, when Ravin came, see, before it was Rav Dimi brought this question from Rish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan about Safik Lakula. It apparently from our Mishnah was Lakula. So when Ravin came, he said this slightly differently than Rav Dimi, and he says, Kama Ramilei, that the question was actually directly from grain to other grain. We had two versions of the opinion of Reb Meir regarding if there was grain on the ground in a hole that was made by the animals that they burrowed through the ground. There was grain that was in that hole, and the grain was already harvested. So the grain on the top, we assume, came from the harvesting. That needs to be left for the poor. But the grain underneath, we said, was probably from before the harvesting, and that didn't. But the grain, we don't know about the grain on the top either. So one case said that he has to give, one opinion of Reb Meir, which was the opinion of Yehuda ben Agra, says that you do have to give it. And there was another opinion that said of Rabbi Meir that you don't have to give it. So Ravin says that was the contradiction that Rish Lakish asked to Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan responded, "Oh no, that's Rabbi Yehuda ben Agra's opinion of Rabbi Meir. We don't hold it. That's just one opinion. We hold up the other Rabbi Meir that says that you don't have to give it because it's a doubt." Levi Zara Bekishar. Levi planted in Kishar.
The place?
It's a place, Kishar.
It's like Bell Harbor.
Bell Harbor, exactly. Now, Levi cannot be the Levi of Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Can't be. Must be a different. There were no poor people there. It's not true. Bell Harbor has poor people.
Yeah.
The houses don't appear like that, but it doesn't mean that. What did we talk about? There was cash poor. What was the expression that you used? Cash poor. The taxes, they're too high. They don't have. Okay, so there were no poor people to leave it to take the leket from the harvesting. So also coming to Rav Sheshes, it comes to Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes is a student of Rav Huna, is a student of Rav. Levi was much earlier. Levi was a student of Rabbi. So whatever, it's a different Levi. So Amalei, he's asking, what do I do with this with this leket? That's I don't have anyone to give it to. There's no one there that comes to collect it. It's just sitting there. It's going to spoil.
Before WhatsApp and internet.
Yeah,
Right.
he's going to say later on.
What is that?
Before WhatsApp.
Before WhatsApp, right, to say. So, Amalei, la'ani v'lager tazivay, some v'leila arvim v'leila atalafim. Don't leave it, it says you leave it for the poor. You don't leave it for the ravens and for the atalef as a bat.
Left is the long wings.
The bats, right?
Only at night in Gamma.
Yeah, the bat. The bat, and not for the bats. It's not for the you don't have to leave it to go to waste. You can take it home, and that's it. There's no one there to leave it for. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. The owner does not need to bring the truma from his granary to the city so that the kohen should have an easy time to get it. Let the kohen go over to get it. And you don't have to bring it from the desert to an inhabited area to make it easier on the kohen. V'mein sham kohen.
Is there lefnim mishur sadin to do that?
I don't know. He doesn't have. That's not his.
No, his job to do.
It's not his responsibility. But if there is no kohen, then seicha para mevia the pnei hafsitruma. Then you should. If there is no kohen there, then you hire an animal to pull it to a place where the kohenim can get it, because you don't want to lose the truma. Here we have a problem, because you said before that if there's no poor people, you take it home, and here you say that you have to get it to the kohen. If there's no one there, maybe you should have to schlep it to the poor people.
Right.
To the trailer parks, right? So the Gemara says, Shani Truma did Tavla. By Truma it's different. You can't eat your grain until you separate the Truma. So this is a much more serious halacha. But the truth is you could separate it, but then you have to take care of it because it's Truma. You can't destroy it. You're not supposed to destroy it. So here you have a much bigger responsibility.
In Israel, when they do maisa with the peos,
They put it on the side.
Yeah, just put like gasoline on it. Don't give it to nobody.
Yeah, that's today. And
Right.
before we weren't allowed to burn truma unless it was tamei and.
So today is allowed just to destroy it.
Yeah, because we can't give it.
Can I give it to the poor people?
Yeah, I didn't know that they destroy it like that. I just thought that they, maybe because we're all tamei, that's why. Truma tameya. Okay. The Gemara says, 1 second, very matanis to tabli. If you don't give the gifts, we had a machlekes before. If you don't give the gifts from the animal to the kohen, if you're allowed to eat the rest of the animal, was it considered tevel? Tevel means like untithed grain. So Vitanya was taught in a brayso, makom shenagulim like ba'galim, places where they take the skin off, I think with boiling water. And they would take the skin off with boiling water. In those places, so lo yafshit es hazraya, don't take the skin off the arm. because you want to leave it for the kohen together with the skin. If places where they skin the head, don't skin the jaw. The kohen is supposed to get that skin as well. The main sham kohen, but if there is no kohen, and this is the halacha that we're looking for, what if there's no kohen there? So Malan, I said, kohen.
The skin's for the leather, or or is this more?
There may have been some sort of fur on it or something. And the leather. So here he has to take the value of it, and he's going to give the value to the kohen. Now, is that considered tevel? If you don't do that, is the rest of your animal considered tevel? No. You can eat you can eat all the flesh of the animal, even if you didn't give the gifts to the kohen. We said clearly that even if they're destroyed, you don't have to pay for them. So how could we answer before? We had sort of a contradiction. We said when it came to truma, you have to hire an animal to get it to the kohen. We said, but by the poor people, you don't have to hire an animal to bring it to the poor. And we gave an answer what the difference is. The difference is that by the poor, it's not considered tevel if they don't take their leket. So now we throw in a third case. We say another case where it's not tevel, and you do have to get it to him. Now it's going to spoil, so you give him the money. But it messes up the answer that we just gave, that there's a difference between if it's tevel or not. Gemara says, Shani matnas kuna de nesina ksiva bei. If you look at the pasuk, it says that the nasan lakayan esazroya v'lachayim v'akevarei. It says that you have to give it. So here you have to actually take it and give it. However, when it comes to the poor, it says you leave it. It doesn't say you give it. So when it comes to leaving it, that you can just leave. And if no one's going to take it, so it doesn't have to go to the bats and to the ravens, you can take it home. But here you actually have to give it. That means you have to get it to the kohen. The Gemara now says, Hashtadasas lahachi. Once you've answered this, we can go back to our answer before. We said what was the difference between leaving it for the poor and leaving it for the kohen. That for the kohen you actually have to get it to him. We said that it was because of tevel. We have a new answer. Truma nami nesina ksiva bei. By truma it also says you have to give it. So we don't need that tevel answer. We have it in the pasuk. It says you have to give it. You have to get it to the kohen. The Gemara now asks on page Kuflam Dalet Amid Bais, and how many lines down? 13 lines down, towards the end of the line. Vela tazev, that's the last word on the line. Yiseira lamali. It says an extra time tazev, which means you should leave it. And we were thinking that extra pasuk that you should leave it tells me that you have to go out of your way to make sure that it gets to him, to the poor. By the nesina, we know you have to give it. But by the giving it to the poor, by leaving it for the poor, it says twice tazer you should leave it, and that extra one could have taught us that you have to make sure that it gets to him.
Is it two psukim or?
Well, actually, it's in different
words in the same pasuk.
No, one is in Shorei Kesev. One is in Kedoshim, Parshas Kedoshim, and the other one is in Emor.
No, Azov ta'azov imo, no?
No, that's
This is
by
something else.
that's by the animal that you need to load. You need to load it up.
Right.
La'ani v'lager tazev. That's what it says. La'ani v'lager tazev. Look at the Tanya. It says I use it for the following brisa. Hamafker es karmai. This is a way of avoiding paying leaving the gifts to the poor, is if you make your field ownerless. Now, if you make your field ownerless and don't actually leave it, or like open the gates up, and then you run back and you take it again, you've exempted yourself from giving certain gifts, as you'll see. So it's like a trick. It's a way of avoiding. It's laundering.
That's really what it is. Wow.
So,
That's great.
Hamafker es karma. He makes his vineyard ownerless. Ulashachar, and in the morning, Hishkim, he gets up. Ubatzrei, and he starts to harvest. So he takes it right back. Sachayev beperet, ba'olis, b'shikcha, u'bepeya. He's still obligated in all of those things. Leket, in other words, what falls. The oilis are the deformed clusters. If he forgets anything in the field, then he has to still leave the corner. Why? because there's a separate pasuk. There's an extra pasuk that says taziv, that's telling me that this is not a real hefker, because you didn't actually leave it, take it out of your property and take it out. You didn't actually do that. If it would really be hefker, then you would actually be exempt. But this is like sort of like,
Trick.
it's a hefker where you don't actually take it out of your possession. So, however, patim in a meisers, but you're still exempt from meisers.
Don't
So
they
that's
do
what-
something like this on Shemitah year in Israel?
Could be.
Similar like that.
Could be.
Or
Shemitah
they
was
sell
different.
it to an Arab.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that was an old machlekes. If you're allowed to sell land in Israel to an Arab, it's a problem. But to avoid the laws of Shemitah, it could be that you could do that. When those first aliyahs, the aliyah, they had this problem, and they were sending their questions back to Europe, and it was the Rabbanim in Israel and Europe were arguing about what they're allowed to do regarding Shemitah. So that was actually a machlekes, the Ridvaz, Wolowski or Wolomovsky or something, not this, and maybe, and then Rav Kook, they were involved. They fought about this. It's a big deal. Who's Saka de Dinri? There was this Saka is a sack of coins. The Asala Bei Midrasha. It came into the Beis Medrash. Someone gave a donation to the people that were sitting and learning. Kadam Rabami v'Zachabem. Rabami went and he took them. Gemara says, how did he do this? You have to give it. He's not supposed to take it. We're going back to the Gemara before. Remember, with Abaya saying, are you supposed to take the gifts to the Kohen? He says originally he would take it. Then he heard V'nasan l'shitul miyatzmai. He stopped taking it, but he would still ask for it. Then he heard that the sons of Shmuel were in trouble for taking it, so he doesn't even take it then, except for Erev Yom Kippur. So here comes along Rabami and goes ahead and he takes the coin. The Gemara is surprised. How does he do this? He's not supposed to take it. The Gemara says, Rabami nami laniyam zachavem. He took it for the poor. Didn't take it for himself. Iba Yasema, if you want, say a different answer. Adam chashav shiny. If he's an important person, he's allowed to take the money. Rabami was very important. The Tanya, it was taught in the Braisa. Ba'kayin agadol miyachav. The Kayin that's greater than his brothers. Referring to the Kayin Gadol. Shei gadol miyachav. He should be greater than his brothers Benoi in appearance, b'chachma and wisdom, ba'isher and in wealth. Achirim ma'imrim. Others say. Achirim is Reb Meir, right? Reb Meir, the others say, Minayin Shem Eily. How do we know that if he doesn't have money, that his brothers, the Kainim, have to make him wealthy? That from his brothers, that means his brothers make him wealthy. That his brothers have to give him more money so that he becomes wealthy. So that he becomes independently wealthy. Okay. The next piece of Gemara, if you have an art scroll.
It says in the commentary the reason for this is that so people listen to him.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it says. People should listen to him.
Wealth. People
Also,
Rebbe, what's it?
not
Rebbe,
just
how you
wealthy,
mechaber
but the
Ashir.
wealthiest of them all.
Right.
Rebbe, right? Doesn't it say?
Rebbe was very well.
I don't know if you know
that's
really
something
rich
else.
people, but everything they
No,
say
but
is
the
very
whole
interesting.
thing about that was that he himself was rich, but he had what's it called for rich people. He himself was very rich, Rebbe. But he had even more respect for rich people.
I heard the pshat that Rebbe gave honor even to the wealthy. Oh, I'm kidding. Okay, but they joked about a chazan that asks for $10,000 before Yom Kippur. So he said, "What are you going to?" I'll give it back right after Yom Kippur. He said, what are you going to? He says, "When I have $10,000, I daven much different." Okay. So, Ezeu Azraya. When you say that you have to give a gift to the Kayan, so you have to give the forearm. That's the foreleg, the front leg. What is that? From where to where? So it says Mina Perik Shel Arkuva, which is like sort of like the ankle. Ad Kaf Shel Yarach, all the way up till the thigh, until the top of the till the is it the pelvis, the what's the book of the atma? What did we say? The socket. What bone was that? The hip. Till the hip. V'hu shel nazir, and that's the same thing of the nazir. The nazir also, there's one leg that goes to the kayin from the nazir, from the el nazir, the ram that the nazir we learned about. They have to cook the whole thing together. Remember? Let me hold up things. We're looking at here is, see the front leg. We have perek shel arkuba, which is the knee. Yeah, because that would be the foot. No, that's the ankle. It's sort of like the ankle, right? Because that's the.
No, that's the ankle. That is the.
That's the ankle down there.
Yeah.
This is the knee. No, this is that would be like the knee. That's the foot. That's the ankle, and that's his. Okay, because he stands on his toes. Anyway, whatever it is, it's from there. It's the part that you see all the way up until that section. This is the whole zroya. That's the whole zroya from there till there, till all the way up until the hip. And what we're saying is the zroya. This is the same part that's given to the kayin by the nazir's animal. Then we're going to discuss now, what about on a regular shlamim? What do you give? What's the shayk? So does it say over here shayk? Okay, let's take a look now. Let's hear. Connect the beregel shayk. The opposite in the back leg would be the shayk. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Shayk min perek shel kuvad suvach shel regel, which is lower than the hip. Doesn't go all the way up. Ezeu lechi, what is the jaw that you have to give? It says min perek shel lechi, from the joint of the jaw, ad pika shel gargeres, until the top of the windpipe.
Rabbi, the reason you're having a problem showing that picture is you were looking at the foreleg and you were looking for the knee, which is in the hind leg. Just remember, you're talking about it stands on it, so it's got the same kind of multiple joints, but you're calling this the knee. You're looking at the elbow, looking for the knee.
Oh.
And it's just you're pointing to the front.
I just always look at it. It's all legs, 4 legs.
But the foreleg is like the arm in the front.